Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports. It is a Tuesday edition here on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams. Big show coming up as we get ready, of course, for the big lacrosse game this weekend down in Darien. But very happy to be joined by a couple of co-hosts today. As usual, Donald Eng to my left this time, and to my right, my broadcast partner, Frank Granito. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Don, start with you.
Well, good afternoon. As you mentioned, a big week as we continue to build up, although we're going to get into it in a little bit, but, potential speed bump on the way to the showdown Saturday, and that's, of course, why Frank is here.
That's exactly right. And Frank, good to see you. Welcome aboard.
Rob, excited to be here. A lot of fun. And like Don said, before we get to that matchup Saturday, we got a pretty good one tonight as well. And we will be there for the call.
We do. We will be there for the call later tonight. We will be at Dunning Field for the Rams taking on the Staples Wreckers. Of course, we saw the Wreckers just a week ago against the Greenwich Cardinals. Took a little extra time to get it done, but they're a scary team, at least from the Rams' point of view, because you can't overlook them.
No, they've proven themselves that they're ready to handle the competition from top-tier FCX teams. Yes, Greenwich is a little down this year and they're struggling, but they fought through adversity, scored with 2 seconds left, survived in overtime, and were able to triumph in 2 overtimes over what I still think is a good Greenwich team.
So we're getting you all pumped up for that big game coming up on Saturday at 1. We'll have a special edition of our pregame coverage Saturday as well, looking like we'll go with an 11:30 start time Saturday morning from Darien High School. We will confirm that, of course, with you as the week goes along, and so much to get to on this edition of the program. But before we get to that, have you recovered from the Rangers?
I'm not talking about the Rangers. Oh, man.
You promised you were going to come up here and talk hockey with me, but maybe we should take a breath before we do that.
I was hoping I'd have more than a week of a window to talk about it.
We got to start these sad Frank meme trending there. We've got sad Hank.
Yeah, we do have sad. Well, yeah, there's the one I always post, which is Sad Hank. So that's kind of that's the way it goes.
We got Sad Frank.
Yeah, we can have Sad Frank instead. Oh, geez, why go there? But great hockey being played around the NHL, including just last night with the Blues and Blackhawks wrapping things up. But this is such a big week. This is such a big game. But really, we should start with this game tonight. How do the Rams get past the Wreckers and make sure that they're not overlooking the Wreckers?
Well, first of all, the Rams are coming in struggling a little bit. Defensively, they've been as good as anyone in the conference, I think, but offensively, they are not in a groove right now. Coming in off a couple of tough games, they didn't put up big numbers against St. Joe's or that Greenwich team or even Norwalk before that, and they need to get back to playing a more consistent game on offense. They're struggling to hit the net right now. And Staples has a very good defensive unit. I think of Staples, New Canaan, and Darien right now. They are probably the top 3 defensive teams in the state. And I mean, New Canaan and Darien in the nation potentially, and that's why we're seeing them separate themselves from the rest of the pack right now.
We were talking about it before the show. The rankings are a little messed up right now. I think that's fair to say.
They're definitely inconsistent. It's hard to say exactly what the rankings are based on, but Darien is pretty consistent across the board. New Canaan, bit up and down depending on who you ask.
Yeah. I think you and I were talking about it as well. I think there's kind of the rankings that you would, I don't want to say you respect some more than the others, but there's certainly one that you're going to pay attention to more than others. Is that fair to say?
I agree. And for me personally, it's the Under Armour and Inside Lacrosse rankings. I think that's the most consistent. You've known it for the longest time, I think. My brothers played college lacrosse. Some of my cousins did, and that's the one I've always gone off of. In that ranking right now, Darien sits at number 5. New Canaan is at number 7. If you go to the USA Today and high school sports poll, New Canaan is all the way up to number 3, and Darien sits at 18 in that poll, which I think is a little low for them, but they're going to get into the heart of their schedule right now, and we'll see how legit they are.
It definitely is interesting. As we were saying, Lax Power has a lot of great information, but they've got New Canaan somewhere down around 1,000, I think. Not that low, but what, 99 did you say?
Yeah, I think they're right below Blessed Sisters of the Poor or something like that.
But, to your point, Frank, you got Hill Academy still at number 1, Victor, New York at number 2, McDonough, Maryland is 3rd, Bullis, Maryland, where they clearly played great lacrosse in Maryland, number 4. Darien 5, Deerfield, Massachusetts 6, New Canaan 7. Boys Latin out of, wait for it, Maryland is 8th. Gonzaga from D.C. is 9th. And again, I won't work in a Billy Joel reference, but Cold Spring Harbor at number 10 between you, me, and the Staten Island Ferry. And yeah, I just worked in a Billy Joel reference. Couldn't resist. It's a great collection of teams, and at least in the Rams' case, they've already knocked a couple of these top 25s off. Loyola Blakefield at 13, as well as Brunswick at 24.
And, you know, I saw Coach Chip Buzzio and Athletic Director Jay Egan this morning, and Coach Buzzio said to Jay, thank you so much for letting us go to Loyola. It has made a world of difference to this team. And it's like we said, that is very good lacrosse. It's arguably the best lacrosse region-wise in the nation. Fairfield County will make a debate. Long Island will make a debate.
Sure.
But as we can see right now, they've got 5 or 6 of the top 10 teams in the nation according to this one poll. New Canaan has proven itself, but again, they're in a little bit of a lull where Darien will be coming off of a game against St. Joe's today and a 17-3 thrashing of perennial powerhouse Wilton.
The one thing for sure that New Canaan has going for it, in my mind, is the guy standing in front of the net.
And Drew Morris has been tremendous all year. We've seen him twice now against Fairfield Prep, and my first experience with him was the Greenwich game the other day, and I was not so much into the hype. I'm a full believer now. The soon-to-be Maryland Terrapin, he has kept this team undefeated up to this point, and he will be on duty the next 2 games this week.
Greenwich gave them a pretty good battle, too, in the end. That game was not, you know, there was some talk among people off the air saying, oh, well, the over-under is going to be X number of goals. They really thought that the Rams were going to run away with that game from the Cardinals, and the Cardinals said, wait a minute, not so fast. Cardinals did some good things in that game.
And I think one of those things that we'll see again from both teams in Staples and Darien this week is they went to a zone defense. They saw it against Ridgefield, did Greenwich themselves. It slowed their offense down, and the Rams never really got in sync through it. They were stuck to the outside, couldn't get quality shots at the front of the net. And if it's not for Peter Swindell with a couple of big shots down the stretch, we might be talking about a different story here today.
I totally agree. Don, we've seen good play from Darien as well, and they're obviously right there at the top of the standings in the FCAC. And in the East Division, they're reported 7-0 overall, 4-0 conference. I mean, they're as good as anybody. But Staples, not to forget the Wreckers, 8-0, 4-0 as well. But the point being, the Blue Wave have been the Blue Wave.
Well, yes, the Blue Wave have been the Blue Wave, and you mentioned Staples at 7-0, possibly being overlooked a little bit. That brings me to my next point I was going to bring up, which was Ridgefield, also 7-0 with wins over Garden City, Greenwich, Yorktown, New York, and Medfield, Mass, and with a tough game coming up tomorrow against Brunswick School. Speaking of teams that are in the national rankings, the Tigers could really make a statement tomorrow as they host Brunswick at Tiger Hollow.
And we were talking in terms of schedules, Frank. I'll bounce back over to you. Darien's schedule, not only, as you said, the 17-3 thrashing of Wilton, St. Joseph as well coming up at 4:15, but then New Canaan, and then things get fun for them. I mean, what kind of schedule is this?
Well, think about this. We're so focused on the New Canaan-Darien game. Let's say that Staples knocks off Darien tonight.
Yeah.
It could be next Tuesday where we're getting ready for a Darien-Staples matchup of the undefeated teams in the conference. Then they'll have St. Anthony's coming up from New York. And on May 7th, we could have a potential another undefeated battle as they'll be taking on Ridgefield. So they have got 5 games coming up against very good lacrosse teams where they cannot take anyone for granted before getting a lesser challenge in their last 2 games of the regular season.
I feel like the Tigers, I'm not going to use some bad jungle pun, but the Tigers have been, where Darien and New Canaan are up here, the Tigers have been kind of sitting down here going, okay, we're back here. We'll let you know when we're ready. And we saw how good they were against Garden City just a week and a half ago. We saw what Darien did to Manhasset that same day. And we'll have Darien Manhasset, by the way, tomorrow in girls lacrosse, just to mention that as well at 4 o'clock. But the Tigers are right there also. And I think some teams like being that forgotten team. I think Ridgefield's okay with that.
I think so too. And although they are right now flying a little bit under the radar, that will end. As I mentioned, Brunswick tomorrow. Then they get Staples. We've been talking about the Staples-New Canaan matchup, potentially the Staples-Darien matchup, the Staples-Ridgefield matchup on the 29th, and then they finish off their season with Darien, and then Trumbull, McMahon, St. Joe's, and then finally they close out their season at New Canaan. So Ridgefield been a little quiet so far. That won't remain the case.
You know, as we look to Saturday, and I know it's tough to do because we've got, of course, two games tonight with the game that we're covering as well as Darien taking on St. Joseph. We're not trying to ignore either of those teams or either of those games. But assuming each team does what they have to do, start kind of thinking the matchup through for me for Saturday for just a moment.
Well, when you look at the matchups, first of all, it's in the face-off circle. We've seen how important face-offs can be up to this point. You'll have Nick Cravato for New Canaan, Tanner Strub for Darien, and they are two of the best guys in the FCI. That will be a great matchup. Then you have Ryan Cornell and Drew Morris in goal. Ryan Cornell has gone so far under the radar because of the spectacular play of Morris to this point. Chris Clem at Ridgefield, who was great in that win we saw against Greenwich. That's another key matchup. But I think it will be the New Canaan attack versus a strong Darien defense, led by Mark Ivanchuk, who will be heading off to Penn next year. He'll be joined with Will Simpson, Jake Beeler, Burke Blatney, Rock Stewart, Christian Trafone, Hudson Hamill, and Riley Stewart. And what this group does so well is get into transition, and a lot of these guys can score in that transition.
We have talked about Mark Ivanchuk as a scorer last year in the state championship game. I can still see it as clear as a bell, thinking to myself, you don't normally see the long stick making that kind of an offensive run. It's, even more aggressive. You parallel it to hockey in that we never saw a scoring defenseman until Bobby Orr came along. That's how kind of revolutionary the idea of a long stick going and scoring. And I remember Ivanchuk doing that last year, and we saw up at Ridgefield as well. There are players now that can do that. Chase Levesque in this case up at Ridgefield. So Ivanchuk can become a real player in this game.
Yeah, he certainly can be. With his two-way skills, which is not something that you talk about very often with the long stick. I also wanted to mention we were talking about the matchup between the two goalies. One of the things about lacrosse that's always interesting to me is how the goalie. You were talking about the transition game. It's almost like a Bill Walton outlet pass from the goalie. That's a crucial aspect of the game.
And you're absolutely right. It can be so crucial and we've seen it all year. Turnovers. It's what plagued Greenwich and why they're struggling so much. It's how Staples ended up winning that game against them in double overtime. A goalie who can make consistent, complete passes out in transition makes a world of difference, especially at the high school level. But New Canaan has got to avoid falling into just lulls on offense. They can't get lulled to sleep around the outside if Darien goes to that zone, put balls on the turf, because Darien will pick it up and they are too quick in transition no matter how good this New Canaan defense has been this year.
We still owe you some softball highlights from yesterday at Stanford High School, so we'll get to that as well. But first we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back with more of Nutmeg Sports right here on the HAN Network.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
Do you need help reaching or maintaining your fitness goals? For over 20 years, Mike Pernice has tailored his time and expertise to clients on both coasts whose schedules demand flexibility and accountability. Mike is a certified lifestyle manager and has been called upon to help his clients eliminate negative behavior such as coping with stress, improving their time management, setting realistic life goals, and cutting down compulsive behavior. If you're ready to start working toward a more energetic, productive, and healthier you, call Mike Pernice.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
Join the HAN Network and Make-A-Wish Connecticut to help make travel wishes come true for local kids with life-threatening medical conditions. Donate your unused airline miles to the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign. Together we can share the power of a wish.
I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us for Coffee Break, weekdays at 11 to get the latest Connecticut news, weather, high school sports, and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
We welcome you back to this Tuesday edition of Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams. That is Donald Eng. That is Frank Granito. We've got tonight lacrosse, boys lacrosse here on the network at 6:30 from Dunning Field in New Canaan as the Rams host the Staples Wreckers. And again, we'll keep an eye on Darien and St. Joseph, of course, as well. That should be in the books by the time we're off and running. But all that being said, it sets things up, assuming the way you hope that they go, for Saturday at 1 o'clock here on the HAN Network. Again, special pregame show early on Saturday. And you get a look at the FCAC standings right now. And it gives you an idea of just, of course, how good Darien and New Canaan are, but Staples and Ridgefield right there in the mix also. With all that said, we want to turn our attention back to yesterday in Stamford as the Danbury Hatters came to Stamford High School to take on the Black Knights in softball. A matchup of a couple of teams that have had, let's say, up and down seasons, but certainly a quality matchup. How did it turn out? Let's take a look at the highlights from yesterday. Good afternoon, everyone, from Stamford High School. It is high school softball on the HAN Network. The ball's in a strike, 2 out, no score, top of the first. Swings at it, drives it to center. This will head over the head of the center fielder, McGarian, heading toward the fence and over it for a home run. That line drive had plenty of action to it, and she hits a bullet to right center field for a 1-0 lead. Looked like it was going to head toward the fence, but the ball kept carrying, went right over it, and it's a 1-0 lead for the Hatters here in the top of the first inning. It's a dangerous game. The 3-2. Fought it off. It'll roll to second and bounces away. 2 runs are going to score, and Stamford takes a 2-1 lead. Alex Cook went to play it. Dia, you want to throw it to center field. This is pulled to third and off the glove of Spruill. Rounding third, the throw to the plate in plenty of time, but gets away safe as O'Neill on at second, and heading toward third now is Zakana. The throw not in time. It's a 3-1 ball game. Nobody on. She swings and lifts it to center. This is trouble, heading back to the fence, making the play as McNamara right up against the fence. And the inning comes to an end. Oh, she gave it a ride, but an equally good play by the Danbury center fielder. 2 runs in the inning with 1 base hit. She swings and lifts it to left. Bogus puts it away. The tag at third. The throw bounces a little bit behind the runner. A sacrifice fly, and it's 5-1.
Here on the HAN Network.
The 1-1 is pulled to short and a bouncer that gets through. It's an RBI single. Tuscana makes it a 6-1 ball game. Then Darien on Wednesday. That's what I started to say. And this is line to right and trouble and a climbing the ladder catch in right. Now the turn and the throw, and they'll bring it back in. Lead on Danbury. Sarah Staley tries to close it out, and a soft line drive to left that falls into the glove of Diana McGarian in left center field, and the ball game is over. So congrats to the Black Knights. They get the win over the Hatters. Sarah Staley picked up the win. Nice job by her. And again, not flashy, not a lot of strikeouts. Did walk a couple, but pitched an overall good game, went the distance in that one. So, and some pretty good defense, some struggling defense at times Stanford didn't make any errors. Danbury had a couple, and that kind of wound up being the difference in the game. But 6-1 the final score, and with the Black Knights now, they are now 5-4, 5-2 in the FCAC, and Danbury has fallen to 5-5, 3-4 in the FCAC. But right now, still, just as last year, the team to beat remains St. Joseph. Overall, they just continue to stay perfect.
They do, and they've been remarkably consistent. They're right now on top of the standings in the FCAC and also in the state's Class M division. Now you would expect that they're going to get into a little bit more of the meat of their schedule. They've got matchups against they still have Fairfield Ward on the schedule. They still have Darien, Ridgefield, and New Canaan. So some tests coming up, but I do expect that come the end of the season, St. Joe's will probably remain on top of the FCAC.
West Hill at 6-2, at least in the standings as of Saturday, according to FCAC.net. So they're kind of that number 2 team in the conference, and beyond that, everybody else is kind of bunched right there, Frank.
And I thought that's what made Stanford's game yesterday such a big one for them. It was a very consistent game. They played what I thought was their best game of the season, and it's a good point to build some momentum off of. And with high school sports, we know how it is. If you can get to the playoffs, everyone has a chance.
Right. Particularly in softball, when a hot pitcher can just carry a team. Unlike in, say, baseball, where you need to have 2 or 3 pitchers because you're playing 2 or 3 games a week. A softball pitcher can be like a hockey goalie. You can put the team on their shoulders and carry them. And
you don't. Yes, with the windmill, it's putting the pressure on the shoulder. You're doing stuff with your elbow, depending on what you're doing with the ball. But with a softball pitcher, and I mean no disrespect, it's a different kind of torque that they're coming up with.
It's actually the natural way you're meant to throw the ball.
Right.
It's the way the shoulder was designed. But it's like Don said, if you get a hot pitcher for softball, and this is just such a tough conference to go undefeated in, and with the way St. Joe's is playing right now, in these spring seasons, and even in hockey season too, I always thought you wanted to lose one game right before your playoff push because you're asking a lot to keep that kind of a winning streak going.
I agree with that. We've talked about that with
we were talking about winning streaks this morning, yeah.
Yeah, we were. In fact, we were. Let's go to that one as well.
Well, no, the winning streak we were talking about this morning was Southington High School's remarkable 77-game winning streak came to an end yesterday at the hands of the Fitch Falcons. The Fitch was number 2 going into yesterday. Southington was number 1. And as we said earlier, remarkable stat. Since Seymour High School won 78 straight games ending in 2008, 2 teams have won 77. The Rachel Fico Massac team and this current iteration of the St. Joseph of the Southington Knights. Both teams lost their 78th game. Both teams losing to Fitch. So remarkable stat there that if you've won 77 in a row, you don't want to see Fitch on your schedule. And and a great job by Southington also, because I just wanted to mention that they knew they were going to be going for history, and they scheduled Fitch High School, the defending Class L champ, out of conference. So that's the Spirit of Competition award right there.
There you go. All right, we'll take another break here. As we come back, we will get to some other things as we move along on a Tuesday edition of Nutmeg Sports. We're back right after this on the HAN Network.
Can't wait for it to get warmer so you can start fishing again? Get over to the Dock Shop, where they have the latest in fishing tackle, marine electronics, boating supplies, and more. But remember, the Dock Shop isn't your average tackle shop. You'll also find the finest selection of nautical apparel, jewelry, home decor, and gifts in New England. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Chop off your knives to be sharpened. Grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
For over 25 years, Mike Sizik Painting and Wallpapering has been the name to know for residential and commercial properties in Fairfield County. He uses only the top brands, including Benjamin Moore, for impeccable preparation and lasting quality. Call Mike now and receive $500 off any job over $7,000. Mike is currently accepting reservations for spring, so call him today at 203-770-8869 or 203 972-3310. For your custom painting, finishing, and staining needs, it's Mike Sizik. At the Sylvan Learning Center of Darien, experienced teachers and personalized academic support equals superior results. Our certified teachers uncover skill gaps, address specific needs, and help students realize greater academic success and increased confidence. We're enrolling now. Individualized after-school tutoring in reading, math, history, elementary math, algebra, geometry, calculus, high school science, and study skills. For a free consultation, call 203-655-3276 or email gmcsylvan@gmail.com. At the Sylvan...
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports for a Tuesday edition. Rob, Frank, Don, kind of a different setup here today. I feel like I can't tell if we're playing Password or that's an older reference. I'm not sure Frank's going to get that one.
I was going to go Hollywood Squares, but either one works.
Hollywood Squares could be a good. I've got my inner Peter Marshall going here. On a day that we had Loretta Swit on Coffee Break, that's a solid reference right there.
I was pretty happy with it. With my
I have to
happy
look. Maybe
face,
Loretta Swit was the center square sometime. I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to sports talk here. And girls lacrosse now as we come back into talking about lacrosse. And there's New Canaan once again doing what they do, with the exception of one game, Saturday, April 16th, when they took on Middle Country, New York. And again, another Cold Spring Harbor reference where it's either sadness or euphoria. Yeah,
the Rams dropping a 13-10 decision, and sometimes as we were saying earlier, you get that loss out of the way, the hiccup, if you will, and you kind of let your team know that they're not going to skate through their schedule. They are going to be challenged, so we'll see what happens. New Canaan's still in very good shape in the Class M standings.
New Canaan has played so well. We've seen them already this season, and I wouldn't necessarily let that one game, again, from what we were talking about, you need that one loss occasionally. That's still a really good New Canaan lacrosse team.
And it was early on in the year. I think that New Canaan understood they had a chance to win that game and fell apart sort of down the stretch. They felt that they let one get away from them. But it's a very senior and veteran-heavy team. They are extremely confident coming into the season. And like we said so many times before with New Canaan girls sports, all roads lead to Darien, and that's the big game they have circled on the schedule.
It is exactly right. And oh, by the way, May 10th, guess where Darien New Canaan will be, right here on the HAN Network and girls lacrosse, so we've got that covered as well. And the Blue Wave, they continue to play exceptional as well, with one exception, April 11th against Garden City, New York. I mean, again, hiccups happen.
And that's a good Garden City team that they lost to. That's as competitive as girls lacrosse gets. I thought Darien played a very good game that day, but in the end couldn't come out on top. And I think it's a team that will rally around that. This is a senior-loaded team, and these are girls who've been playing for 4 years now. They have won championships and know what it takes to win in the postseason. We saw a lot of these girls in the winter and how they took care of business on the ice. I wouldn't be surprised to see them again there at the end of the spring.
And and as we get into the heart of this FCAC schedule, we're going to expect to see a lot of movement now, because I'm looking at the Class L rankings in as far as the state goes in girls lacrosse. 7 of the top 10 ranked teams in Class L are FCAC teams. Ridgefield on top with a record of 8-0. Darien, Greenwich, and Norwalk all with only one loss, and then a game back from there. Trumbull, the 2 Fairfield schools, and Staples, just about a game back. So as we get into this, and they've been playing out of conference, as we get into conference play and they start playing each other more, we're going to get a better idea of how this divisions are going to shake out.
That's what I love about the Darien schedule to finish out the season. West Hill today, but Manhasset tomorrow, which we'll have on the HAN Network, Danbury on Thursday, but Greenwich, Longmeadow, Massachusetts, then New Canaan on May 10th, Norwalk and Wilton to round out the season.
Certainly, nowhere to hide there. We wonder. We have a sense that Darien is very good. We'll certainly find out.
As for New Canaan to round out their season, they have got McMahon coming up. They're coming off a 16-5 victory yesterday against Fairfield Ward, but McMahon coming up Thursday, then Ridgefield, Fairfield Ludlow, Yorktown, New York on the road over at Charlie Murphy Field, Darien, Norwalk, Longmeadow, Massachusetts as well before the FCAC playoffs begin. So both good schedules.
And that Norwalk game will be resuming where they left off after last week's game. They had to suspend play with 10:30 to go in the first half due to a sudden heart attack by one of the officials. Reports are that he's doing much better now and in good health for the time being, so Very good to hear.
Absolutely good to hear. Good show today.
Not bad.
Like having this guy around the
Yeah, you know, he's knowledgeable. He's not bad at all. He's a real pro.
Yeah, his sister's better, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what he can do. He can hold in a cough for 7 minutes. Did you see that?
He did. It was very impressive. We went to break, and Frank was able to finally kind of relax. But, a couple hours from now, I hope we've got a good game on our hands.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think both offenses are really going to break out tonight. No offense to either the goalies or the defenses, but both these teams now heading into the heart of the schedule have really got to start to get on a roll. Call me a homer. I'll take the Rams tonight.
We'll see. We'll see for sure. Maybe you'll sneak back in here tomorrow for another Wednesday edition. We'll see about that as well.
We'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens.
We are intending to have the man who goes by Laxworm, Mike Sportini, on tomorrow's show. He is supposed to be with us, so of course you can follow him on Twitter. He is a very good follow, really knowledgeable lacrosse guy, so we will talk with him tomorrow. I know he's excited to come on and join us as well, and I would imagine he'll be there on Saturday also. But we will be down at Dunning in just a couple of hours for the New Canaan Rams and the Staples Wreckers. Frank and I will have the call. Justin Galante's going to join us on the field, so we look forward to that. 6:30, so go rest up.
We're going to throat lozenge.
Take a break. Thank you to the folks on the other side for taking good care of us, and for all of us, that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports on this Tuesday afternoon. Again, we'll join you in a couple of hours from Dunning Field in New Canaan. Then we've got girls lacrosse tomorrow, baseball Thursday, and the big boys matchup in lacrosse on Saturday. For Frank Granito, Donald Eng, I'm Rob Adams. Enjoy your day. Of course, coffee break tomorrow at 11 o'clock. But thanks for watching Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.